Andy, Monday got the distinct impression from John Mozeliak that if Adam Wainwright had another Kansas City Royals-like start, it would be over. He goes 6 innings, allows 3 runs. He lives to start another day. Your impressions?
Life support.
Still making the beeps across the screen.
Yeah. I think this last one, they put the things on his chest and his heart started again. So yeah, he's got another start. Excuse me. He's got another start, and we'll see. It's unfortunate that we think that a guy goes 6 innings and gives up 3 earned runs, that's as good as it's going to get.
Keep going, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hooray.
Well, it is a quality start, technically.
Well, technically.
Yeah.
But the standards of quality starts, I think the bar has been lowered a little bit this year, obviously. And, the season's lost. So I guess at this point we'll keep throwing them out there and see if we can get that 200 wins. I don't see it how it's going to happen, but –
I guess he'd have 7 more starts left if there's about 38 games, 5 starters. Yeah. So you don't think twice he could go 5? The 3 things that happen: he goes 5, bullpen is good, and they hit.
They have to score runs
twice.
Right.
2 out of 7 times.
And that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So, are you calling Vegas? See what the odds are. I bet you could get odds on that.
Cole, check that. See if they're that specific.
Wow.
What are the odds on Wainwright getting 2 more wins?
When's the last time he had a win, by the way? I don't even know.
I think it was June.
I think it was that one start in June that we
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a friend who's going to build like an outdoor deck betting against Wainwright every game. He goes to the Alton Bell every game and bets a good chunk of money against him, and he's freaking going
really
he's wealthy.
He's wealthy.
Yeah, I mean he's.
I as much as I know, or pretend to know, I should say, about Major League Baseball and his particular situation, I should have been doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I really should have.
Or another one is last year when the Dodgers got so smoking hot, and then again this year they had a 10-game win streak.
Yeah.
Is he bet the Dodgers every game? He wins.
Well, you're ahead.
Yeah.
You're ahead.
Yeah. Speaking of the Dodgers, I got 2 questions, and
Yeah.
this is out of left field, so I don't know if there's no good answer. But
Well, coming from me, there won't be.
But the 2 guys that I thought, who cares? Let it go. Their time has passed. Lance Lynn proved me absolutely wrong.
Yes.
He was horrible all year.
Yes.
No, it wasn't horrible. He'd get 1 good start a month for the White Sox, and now he's lights out. And then Dallas Keuchel was horrible first night
about
out,
that?
and then he was great yesterday.
Yeah, he was.
What am I missing?
Well, first of all, Keuchel faced the Pirates, so that helped. I watched a little bit of Keuchel. I switched over right when he 2 innings before. Was it 2 innings? 1 or 2 innings before he gave up the hit, and then watching a little bit more. I was surprised he got velocity. He's got his velocity back a little bit. So he was actually touching, upper 80s, low 90s a few times on his fastball. he's such a change-up pitcher that, again, you have to show that enough to make your change-up effective. And he's really interesting because when he throws his change-up, sometimes he throws it 78, and sometimes he throws it 82, and sometimes he throws it 85. And then he just adds a little bit to his fastball. So, the average viewer can't really comprehend the difference between 90 and 82 is huge. And if it looks the same, if it looks like a fastball, and it comes in there like a changeup, you get a lot of weak outs.
Has Lynn had 2 good starts, or
like 4?
And here's the thing about I can this one that doesn't. It surprised me a little bit.
Okay.
But going from Chicago White Sox, which
Dysfunctional.
supposedly the most dysfunctional team in all of baseball, I can't imagine how bad an environment is in the clubhouse. And a veteran guy being in that environment, coming from an environment here in St. Louis, having success, wanting to be on it really doesn't surprise me because the Dodgers. When you go to Dodger Stadium and you walk into a clubhouse, there's a natural elevation that takes place as a professional player. This is what it's all about.
I'm back in the upper crust of baseball.
Well, yeah. And there's an expectation of excellence that when you walk into Dodger Stadium and you walk into that clubhouse and you look at all the guys who are in that clubhouse and you go, I have to perform. I have to. And not only that, Lance Lynn wants to be part of it. He wants to pitch better. And this is the perfect situation. He probably got more adrenaline. He's got a better team. He doesn't have to be perfect. That's another thing. When you're pitching for the White Sox and they can't score runs, you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily have to be perfect now that he's in Los Angeles.
And that gives you confidence, doesn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean,
you can get
absolutely.
on the attack.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he's always been, I think probably in the last 10 years, it's probably percentage-wise thrown more fastballs than any pitcher in baseball.
That's right.
Yeah. So he's not going to change from that. But the Dodgers have a way of, for some reason, when they get a pitcher, they make him better. And I don't know what it is. There's something. They must be, something in the Kool-Aid down in the bullpen that they're feeding these guys.
He had a 6.46 around when the trade was made.
And he's 0.88?
Yeah, 7 innings, 0 runs, 5 innings, 0 runs, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 innings, 3 runs. He's won them all. They've won all 4 games too.
Probably a better defensive team. Yep. Again, if you know that if I throw a pitch and my team has a better chance of catching it, you're going to throw it. You're going to throw it in the strike zone. Take your chances.
All right. So tonight we're going to get a chance to see the first person pay a dividend from the fire sale at the trade deadline, and the Cardinals are going to give Drew Rom his major league debut against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hasn't really lit it up in AAA overall. He's 9-6 with a 4.82.
How old is he, Frank?
He is 15, 23.
23, yes.
So he's a baby.
Yeah, and he's struck out 118 in 97 innings. So
it's good. Let's see.
Okay, he strikes out people, but does he hold the lead for you going into the 6th inning? That's the only thing that matters. Okay, he strikes out 10, gives up 4 runs. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Let's see what he's got.
Yeah.
And again, he's 23, so
there's time to mature there. Here's the thing: if he's got strikeout stuff, you can always learn to pitch going forward. He's probably been a guy that's always, if he's doing this at this age, he's done it his whole life. He started at 12. He's been striking out people. And when you do that, you don't necessarily have to know how to pitch. Maybe he's at the point in his career where he needs to learn how to pitch, not throw. He can obviously throw.
Libator's start was pushed back because of back discomfort, and he said he injured it while lifting
weights.
No, and in particular, he and Gorman both. Why are we deadlifting? What? Take that out. Take that out.
Do we know for sure it was a deadlift?
Yes. It was reported that it was a deadlift.
Okay.
And Gorman the same way. Eliminate that.
I don't get it.
Eliminate it.
I really don't get. I don't get heavy lifting anyways.
Yeah.
Or even squatting. That's the worst exercise.
You want to be in baseball shape. You don't want to be in gym shape. And that's what I always argue with these guys when I was coaching. Why don't you wear yourself out practicing your craft? Isn't that a better idea?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
I thought of you.
Too obvious.
Thought of you the other day. I asked Tommy Edman how in the heck he's become so good defensively in center field. And he said, because every day I go out there and shag balls and try to make it game conditions. And he says, I go out there all the time. Even when I was an infielder, I go out and shag balls. That's what you were advocating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he has a natural instinct that's getting finely tuned. He has that. Our current right fielder has none of it. This is another thing. This is going to be a huge issue going forward.
You don't think you'll ever make a...
Walker is so bad. He's the single worst outfielder I've laid my eyes on. The angles he takes are angles I've never seen big league outfielders take before. They're horrendous. And I don't know. Again, I think and I believe that you have a certain level of instinct in the outfield, and it's depth perception, it's the ability to read the ball off the bat. Some guys just don't have it. Just don't have it at a really high level. Now, they may be average. Like Burleson, he's an average guy that goes. He's an average outfielder as far as not necessarily his athleticism. I'm talking about the angles he takes, whatever the case may be.
How to do it.
But when you have a natural ability like Edman does, you can elevate that just ever so slightly by practicing game condition. I don't think Walker has any of it.
So, if so, and we all agree, if so, then what? What is because the organization put him there. What do you do? What would you do, and what do you think they'll do?
Well, he's got to play some kind of ball in the winter where he's in the outfield. He just has to.
Well, yeah, John Mozeliak did say the other day that his offseason is going to be important. I thought with a guy like that who's played a lot of baseball at 21 that maybe they'd give him a break, but you think they're going to have him play
Frank, you just said the number. He's 21. 21.
Yeah. Every day.
From 18 or 19, actually, I was hurt my first year. From 19 to the time I got to the big leagues, even when I got to the big leagues, I went to instructional ball after my rookie year. You don't get tired of 21.
No.
You don't get tired of 22. There's absolutely no reason to think he needs rest.
Do major leaguers go to the instructional league?
I don't even know. Do they have instructional league anymore?
The fall league.
It's a fall league. That's different.
Fall league, yeah.
That's different. That's not the same as instructional ball.
But don't you think, though, I'm not denying your analysis of him, but if you are athletic, hardworking, with a great attitude, with a good arm, powerful arm, he could figure this out.
Was Shaq a good athlete?
Absolutely.
Did he have the ability to make free throws?
Well, no.
Okay.
And Wilt is another one.
But that's my point. You can be a great athlete and not have a certain skill in your profession. Right?
Yeah.
But who cares if he doesn't become, Larry Walker and Wright? Could he get to a point where he catches most balls and throws people out?
He's got a terrific arm.
Yeah.
And his footwork throwing is good. That's not an issue. The issue is, can he catch the ball? And right now, he can't catch the ball. It's a good thing they're actually not in first place, because you certainly wouldn't put him out there in the 7th, 8th, and you'd have to defensively replace this guy.
Yeah, he wouldn't get 4 at-bats.
Absolutely not. You cannot trust a ball hit to him if you have a lead late in the game. And right now, you leave him out there even if you have You have to leave him out there.
Keep working, get better.
There's no way he would be playing the last 3 innings of a game with a lead if they're in first place. And if he was out there, the manager should be fired.
So would you be content, I asked this to Bob last week, is if they spend all their money on pitching and they trot out the outfield of Nootbaar, Walker with Edman in center next year?
Edman in center?
Yeah.
If they're scoring runs, that's good enough for me. Edman is so good in center field that if he hits, I think he's going to have a better year offense. I hope he hits just right-handed next year too. Mm-hmm. That would be something I would strongly encourage if I was in that position to do it. He is that good defensively that you can overcome maybe his offensive shortcomings.
Yeah,
he's really that good.
And I've mentioned this before on the air, but it reminds me of what Tampa did for years and years with Kevin Kiermaier. He didn't hit much. He's a better hitter now.
Yes.
But he didn't hit much in those days, but he was so good in center.
Yes, he was.
They were happy to carry him.
Yeah, and I don't think he's ever going to be a high average guy, Kiermaier, but he made an adjustment to be a more dangerous hitter by hitting the ball at the ballpark. Mm-hmm. Before he wasn't doing that. Now you figure, if I'm going to hit 200, I'm also swing for the fences. Yeah,
and if you play Tommy out there, we know he can be a doubles machine, which would be great.
I think he's actually going to be an offensive threat by hitting the ball over the fence and hitting the ball in the gap if he just stays on the right side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he's not Peter Borges. He has offensive potential.
Oh, come on.
He's a doubles guy. He's a triples guy.
Who's this?
Edman.
He had 40 doubles.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, I mean that's a hard thing to ask a guy, I don't know when he starts switch hitting at 7 or whatever.
So with the money you got to spend with pitching in the bullpen, and you could be pretty set with Gorman at second, Wynn at short, and Brendan Donovan filling in there and DHing.
And we're burying the lead from the weekend. Mason Wynn.
Yeah.
The guy I've been, and I know why it didn't happen.
Well, they just didn't want to start the clock.
Yeah.
It's simple.
But I was a child holding my breath, and so finally I get to breathe. And I thought it was a nice start for him. He overthrew the ball a couple of times in his first game.
Well, that one play where he dove in the hole and came up throwing. If Goldschmidt's at first,
he catches it.
Goldschmidt catches it.
Yes.
Baker's footwork was awful on that play. He had his left foot back.
He did.
Instead of his right foot back. If he has his right foot back and his left foot out, he catches the ball. But his footwork was off.
Right.
Dan with an interesting question. Ask Andy if he's concerned about the long-term effects of a bad back on a 23-year-old second baseman.
Only if he continues to deadlift.
Yeah.
He strained his back, obviously, deadlifting, which...
Especially during this season.
Yeah. He shouldn't deadlift in the offseason.
Yeah.
You're begging to get injured.
I can't. Unless someone can prove to me that deadlifting makes you a more productive hitter, there's absolutely no reason to do it. I don't think Henry Aaron deadlifted. I don't think Sam Musial deadlifted. I don't think all the greats ever deadlifted, and they hit the ball just fine, didn't they? They're in Cooperstown, so they must have done something right without deadlifting.
Any heavy lifting during the season is just a bad idea. In any sport.
It's insane.
Like Roger Saffold, offensive tackle for the Rams. He tore his shoulder. Benching. Yeah, like maxing. I remember having Orlando Pace in here. Said, what the hell is he doing that for in the middle of the season? I mean, you may do a little toning or something or light weights, but
you want to maintain. Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe that some of the changes might, some of the employees might have to be changed too. Maybe the strength coach, the mere fact that strength coach allowed him to deadlift, I put in big question.
That's exactly right. And that's why tomorrow with Dr. Rick, I'm sure that'll be a key element of the segment, and then we'll take that segment and send it to the Cardinals. Won't we?
What do you think, a guy?
I'm sure they got. They're waiting for the podcast, Bob. They're just
that's right.
Anticipation.
They're on the podcast. That's right.
Well, if the Cardinals would have listened to you for the whole year, they'd be in better shape. So,
they would only be 10 games under 500.
Yeah. What do you think a guy like Matt Holliday did, who was about as big a player as I've ever seen?
Yeah.
Because he would never be around after the game because he actually would be lifting. He probably didn't want to talk to the media anyway. What do you think he did during the season lifting-wise? Because he always lifted.
Ask him.
Okay.
Ask him.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree that there is a maintain issue that needs to be addressed during the season. But gosh darn it, I still think rest is more important than anything else. That's the one thing that I really believe the body needs as much rest as you possibly can get when you're playing almost 200 games a season. Mm-hmm. I mean, your body can only take so much.
But especially when you're young.
You can get away with it when you're young.
Yeah, but you also, and maybe just any age, because young, heck, you're 35 is still young to me. But guys, we've seen guys lose weight during the season and have issues with that sometimes.
Well, shoot, I usually started the season just a little bit over 195 and always end up under 190.
Yeah.
I think it's easier today because of
supplements.
Well, you got supplements, you got all the protein shakes you need. But what you really have is a nutrition value that wasn't there 20, 30 years ago. Yeah. The ability to replenish your body by nutrition, by food, is there. That didn't used to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, the stuff that they put out now at the big league, you can eat poorly or you can eat healthy.
Fantastic, yeah.
It's the variety of foods has never been greater at the major league level.
So
everybody has their own chef.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody asking, so what is the best way to get Walker to be a competent right fielder?
By putting him somewhere else. Well, he's going to play right field. You're just going to have to live. You're going to have the patience for him to continue to make mistakes until he doesn't. And if he continues to make mistakes, and you're in a position to winning ball games that matter, maybe it comes down to playing him 7 innings every night, and hopefully he does
until he gets to a competent level.
And even I still think I would be surprised 5 years from now if the Cardinals are in first place and they have a lead late in the game. He's in right field.
But let's face it, 2 years from now, he could be the first baseman if Paul Goldschmidt plays one more year.
That's my point. Yeah. I don't think – let's mark this date on. What's today? The 21st of August?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
right? 2023? I don't think he'll be the right fielder 2 or 3 years from now.
So let's just go ahead and put it out there and see if we're right or not.
All right.
He's your starting first baseman in 2025.
Oh, I think so. I
we
really,
go.
I really, really do.
We declared it.
Because here's the thing: if the Cardinals saw him at third base through his minor league career, and it didn't seem to, nobody wrote about it being an issue, right?
So he had to have at least decent hands.
He had to be at least average, because nobody talked about the fact that he was having issues there. Playing first base is easier.
Yeah.
It's an easier position in a lot of ways. He's got a bigger glove, all right? And being as tall as he is,
What a target.
absolutely what a target. So he's a big target to throw to.
As long as
Is he going to be Goldschmidt? I have no idea, because I've never seen him play first base. But the mere fact that he's young enough and athletic enough.
And he should, if he played third, and by watching him and his athleticism, you would think he'd have good enough feet to be pretty good over there.
Yeah.
He runs well.
Yeah.
But what if Paul Goldschmidt says to the Cardinals, I want to play out my career, and then next year he's really good? Would you just kick him to the curb?
Well, we'll have to wait. We'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait on that one. That's an issue, that hopefully, put it this way, you hope it's a problem.
Yeah.
You hope Goldschmidt's really good next year, and you
Wants
want
to re-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
As Tony would say, it's a decision I don't have to make right now.
That's right.
Speaking of the Roos, here's another question. Andy, do you still talk to Tony after the 1997 spring training issue?
Do I talk to him?
Yeah. Have you seen
Every
him?
day we text each other.
But have you
Hey,
seen
buddy.
him much since?
I've seen him a couple times.
In your
I
cordial?
actually went to when it was
ARF?
Bow Wow things down at the ballpark.
Yeah.
You showed up in honor of him.
I did. Out of
That's
respect,
great.
out of respect for him being the manager and what he's done for the organization.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
And how was your rapport? Did you chat?
He thanked me. He wasn't chatty to me, but he just thanked me for coming. I said, "You're welcome." And I didn't want to tell him I hate dogs, but I know I don't hate dogs. I'm
No.
kidding. But
I was going to have you leave the show. I'm always leery of a person who likes cats better than dogs. I got a brother like that. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Are you with me on that?
Yes.
You were a big
I'm a
dog
little,
guy.
huh?
You were a big dog guy.
I wasn't a big dog. I had one dog in my life.
Well, that dog was magical because I saw what you trained the dog to do. Tell our audience.
What would you like to know?
He lived right next to Mike Bush, and he would train his dog to go to the bathroom in Mike Bush's yard.
Go dump in Bush's front yard.
Hey, that's awesome.
I did. A smart dog.
Yeah.
It was a golden, right?
A golden retriever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful dog.
Fantastic.
Yeah. That dog. I taught the dog how to let itself out, open the door, get the newspaper. She was just smart. She was just a smart dog. She came from a highly bred dog family.
How could you not want to have another after you had a beautiful golden like that? Is your wife?
Huh?
How could you not want?
My
to have
wife
another?
is not a dog person, actually.
Really?
So we had to really wear on her to get that one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, before we go,
No, we got time.
go back to Wynn. Tell me what you saw this weekend about Mason Wynn. I was thoroughly encouraged, and I was glad to see him get that line drive base hit.
Yeah.
To kind of get off the schneid with a legit hit.
Yeah. It's going to be fun watching him develop. I think his athleticism is obviously it's really, really high. I mean, just the way he goes after the ball, the way he throws. The one thing I did like is he had a ball that was hit up the middle, and he came and got it.
The other side of the bag?
Yeah.
And then ran to the bag?
Well, no, he threw the ball at first, but he didn't throw it 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
He just made a nice made a nice throw. Here's the thing: when he learns, and I think he's already got it. He already gets it. You don't have to show off your arm all the time.
No.
You just have to make sure you make a good throw first. And we're going to see some plays before the year's over where he comes up and he has to hurry and he has to unleash that arm. We're going to go, wow.
Mm-hmm. Who's the best shortstop arm you ever saw?
Sean Dutson.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you see Templeton at all? You saw Templeton,
yeah. I played against him, yeah.
All the time. What about Templeton's arm? That was pretty...
But Sean Dunston,
A rocket.
I'm telling you, you be running up first base, I hit a chopper, two hopper to short, he come charging in really hard. He charged the ball as good as any shortstop. And poor Mark Grace at first base, I'm surprised he wasn't killed a few times. Now listen, this is Chicago. In Chicago, I'll never forget this. It was a day game, and the place was sold out, obviously, Cardinals. And I heard the ball coming across the field.
You could hear it zip.
I heard it before it hit Mark. I heard the ball go before it hit Mark Grace's glove.
Wow.
And when it hit his glove, it sounded like a car wreck. I've never heard a ball just hit a leather glove when Sean Dunston threw it. It sounded like a fastball.
Yeah.
You hear that mitt getting really whacked sometimes. Sometimes they catch it softly, but every now and then the catcher doesn't catch it. It doesn't catch it quite right, and it's so loud. That's what Sean Dunston sounded like.
And then you had Ozzie, who played the second half of his career with a torn rotator cuff and somehow got everybody out.
Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing, though, when you think about it?
Yeah, it really was. But you talk about athleticism. And the thing about Ozzie is that everybody thinks, they look at what he could do physically.
Oh, yeah.
He's smart. He's a really smart player. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of fans miss and got a lot of people in the media is baseball intelligence doesn't, you may have a high baseball intelligence. You may not have a poor, outside baseball intelligence. But when you have baseball intelligence, I think a lot of times it gets overlooked.
I agree.
By the great ones. We just see them hit home runs or make plays like that. There's a mind element there that a lot of people miss.
Well, just to manipulate that arm. Like he said that he felt he had like one good throw a night.
Right.
But he took all those, infield things during BP, but just to position his arm in the right arm slot all the time where he wouldn't feel that pain.
Right.
Let's see. Everybody's saying they love to hear you. Oh, here's one for our older audience. Modern day players should train like Jack LaLanne, put down the heavy weights during the season and put on a belted jumpsuit and do ups and downs, push-ups, and jumping jacks. Remember Jack LaLanne?
He almost made it to 100.
Wow. And still in great shape.
Still working out all the way to the end.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that premise at all. Like I said.
The jumpsuit, maybe not.
It was always black, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I know you prefer the Richard Simmons hot pants look, but
well, that didn't make me a bad person.
I had this I don't know, say argument or I should say discussion, a disagreement with one of the trainers or one of the guys that was training players. I said, why don't we? Because they wanted to run guys or whatever, they wanted to work them out, getting. The workouts in the gym, and I'm like, why don't we get these guys cardio workout? Because I think cardio is really, really important. It's a lot of times guys will go from home to third, and they can hardly breathe anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. Why don't we practice at a level where they get the cardio in and their baseball skills in at the same time? What's wrong with that? Because,
for instance, cardio. You could do sprint work and base running, and you could really have an unbelievable drill. You sprint,
well, if you walk
back, sprint to second, walk back.
Even your ground balls.
You know,
you could do your ground balls if you do them at a really high level for 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, 12 minutes, or you do your outfield at a very high level, like Tommy Edman.
Yeah.
You can get your cardio in, you can get your legs in shape, and you're ready to play. And I don't think you lose so-called strength over the course of a season.
So after your fifth Gold Glove, were you still out there that following season in 190-degree heat in Pittsburgh, shagging balls every day before games?
Every game?
Yeah.
I never did it every game. I shouldn't say I did it every game, but I did it enough where I wanted to practice. I can't tell you how many days. I wanted to practice at a level where the game became easier. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you felt you had to be there. That you had to do it.
I was in the outfield every day. Even if I didn't run down every ball, I worked on my jumps. I would get ready, like the pitches in the game, and I would work on going to my left and work on going to my right and work on going back, work on coming in. That would probably be 5 or 6 steps, and then I would stop. Just working on your jumps, you can do that and get tired, trust me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like somebody like Vijay Singh, who'll be at the Ascension Charity Classic. After his round last year, I just wanted to confirm the rumor. And he was like the only guy out there. It was like 6 o'clock at night, long after his round was over, just hitting and hitting, just like
on the range.
Yes,
after the event.
Sure.
Nobody has hit more balls than that guy.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
It's awesome.
And some guys have to do it to maintain the level in which they want to play. And that's the thing. If you don't, that's my premise. You get to a certain level, you don't want to lose it. And if you don't practice your craft, you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm. It's really exciting to be in here with Andy Van Slyke.
Why are you sweating?
Why am I? Because I took
my
your
mere
chair.
Presence?
Because I took your chair.
You know, Frank, it's taken you a couple of years of you and I working together to
Yeah.
finally elevate this show.
Yeah.
The presence of Mr. Ramsey has done that.
Wow. Something bad's going to happen. That's a setup.
Speaking of sweating, I'm in Cam Jansen's chair. It is wet. No one perspires in the history of radio TV like Cam Jansen.
He is Esteban Yan level.
Exactly. Or how about the lefty the Cardinals had, Game 6, 1997, Donovan Osborne. Remember, all lathered up in the second inning?
He would sweat.
The best sweating
of all time.
The best sweater. Is that a word, sweater?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's something you wear, isn't it?
Right.
Was a situation when I was in Pittsburgh, and I went in between, ran into the dugout, from the dugout into the locker room, and you got to kind of, it's not close, so you got to kind of hurry yourself. I went in there, and the team doctor's in there, and I grabbed something to drink, and I don't know how it came up, but Jim Bibby, you remember Jim Bibby?
Yeah, 6'5" right-hander.
Big, huge.
Big dude.
Big dude.
Brother of Henry Bibby.
Okay.
That's right. Who would have thought that? 6'5" to 6 feet. And
Yeah, the little guy is the one that plays basketball.
Yeah.
But anyway, your story.
And so I don't know how he came up, but it had something to do with the beer tap that was in the clubhouse. And I said, man, I could really just want this game to be over. This is when we were bad. This is my first or second year there. And I said, man, I really like to take a sip of this beer and just go home. And he goes, well, I wouldn't advise that. He says, Jim Bibby once was pitching, and it was April in Pittsburgh, and it's 35 degrees out, 40 degrees out. And Jim Bibby's all beamed up on amphetamines. And I remember facing Jim Bibby, and the cap of his baseball cap, the brow, had sweat coming down on. I mean, just pouring drip, 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 drip.
Yep.
It's 35 degrees out.
30.
So he runs into the clubhouse. This is before I got there. And he told me the story where Jim went to the beer tap, filled up a cup of beer, and chugged it down. And the team doctor says, Jim, what are you doing? He says, I'm just replenishing my fluids. Think about that. A pitcher in the big leagues, beamed up, drinking alcohol.
Trying to even things out.
I guess, but he did not understand the concept of alcohol that actually dehydrates.
What is it about you Pirates, like Doc Ellis, the LSD no-hitter? Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of crazy things that happened when the Pirates were good. A lot of crazy things.
Like in the old days, there's that famous story about the Red Sox guys eating chicken wings at Game 6.
Yeah.
Did you ever go up there and just have like a sandwich in the middle of a game, or?
No, but you'd eat, and they had bars or stuff like that. But no, nothing like that. John Candelera once had pitched, I don't know, 8 or 9 innings the day before, and he wasn't supposed to pitch. So he had his uniform on, took his overcoat, went across to Mount Washington, across the river, and was having dinner
During the game?
During the game. And it went extra innings. Okay?
He had his uniform on.
And they ran out of pitchers. And so the manager of the Pirates, the famous manager.
Danny Murtaugh?
No. Keep going. Who won the World Series as the manager in 1979? Come on. You baseball trivia guys. Come on.
I would have thought that was
drawing a blank.
Murtaugh.
I'm drawing a blank.
Well, I get it.
You'll get it.
He's looking it up.
Come on. You know this one.
Oh, not Bob Skinner. No.
Nope. Come on, guys. You baseball aficionados.
Chuck Tanner.
Chuck Tanner.
Yep.
There you go.
I didn't look it up,
family,
folks.
yeah.
Yeah, we are family. So it's like the 14th, 15th inning, and he had already, had a full Italian dinner, a couple bottles of wine, and so Chuck says, "Well, get Candelario down to the bullpen and tell him to warm up. I need him. I got no more pitchers left." So the bullpen calls back. He's not here. Well, he's not on the bench. He sends somebody into the clubhouse. He's not in the clubhouse. Well, finally, Chuck Tanner goes, "Well, where is he?" One of the guys on the team knew. He went up to Chuck during the game. He says, "John's having dinner over on Mount Washington right now."
Wow.
Yeah. So he comes back to the game, takes his overcoat off, goes out to the bullpen, warms up, comes in after having a large dinner, a couple of bottles of wine, and gets the save.
That's the big league life right there. That's big
How
league.
about that?
That is big league.
Can you see that happening today? There's no chance. Things like that happen. Crazy things like that happen all the time.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s and 70s.
Wow. All right. Yesterday, Hall of Fame day for the Cardinals. Jose Oquindo goes in. You've known Jose for a long time.
Yeah.
Just kind of a thought or impression.
Well, I think he was, sort of he carried the torch from George Kissel, really, when you think about it. He was, I know he learned a lot from George Kissel. And Jose had a brilliant baseball mind, and not only that, you can have a great baseball mind, not necessarily be a great teacher, but he was both.
Great teacher.
Yeah. So, I think it's, of all the guys that have been in recently, it's certainly well-deserved. Yeah,
between Kissel and Jose even mentioned one of my all-time favorite people, the late Dave Ricketts.
Sure.
And a Pittsburgh guy. And those guys sort of formed that Cardinal way. Kissel wrote the book, but those are the guys who took the lesson plan to the classroom. And all you guys that came up with and under them, you were the beneficiaries of that wisdom.
Well, I think the biggest impact looking back that I saw George Kissel have was, yes, he taught me how to play the game, no question, because I went to instructional ball 3 years in a row. And he was there. He was there every single day. But I think what George's brilliance was, he went around the minor leagues for over 40 years, not only teaching the players, but he taught the managers. And he was really, really in tune with the managers, making sure that the managers were managing the game correctly and managing the players correctly. That is a formula that I think obviously worked very, very well for the Cardinal organization. I'm not so sure a lot of they may be doing this in other organizations, but to have that steady presence and that brilliant baseball mind going to the minor leagues, the A ball, the double A, even triple A, I think is such an imperative teaching tool that obviously pays great benefits to the organization.
So Jose, as a player, had some productive years. I think he had a 28 double season, and then he had the
300 1 year.
Yeah, and he had the season where he hit, where he had the fewest amount of errors for a second baseman in history, with second baseman playing 150 games or more. But in general, was he a little bit snake bitten that he came around the time of Ozzie, and he had to spend a good chunk of his career kind of playing behind him, and he could have been a regular at a lot of other places?
Well, I remember when he came up with the Mets.
Yeah,
he started.
He was a kid.
Yeah,
he was what,
really
19?
19, and that's when he was young and lighter and could move around. And I really thought at the time he was going to be not necessarily obviously an offensive threat, but defensively, he was early on as good as anybody. And it carried on the rest of his career. I mean, there's a lot of guys in his position that will stay at the big league level for a long time because when the ball's hit to him in the ninth inning with the bases loaded and you got a 1-run lead, the game's over.
They make the play every time.
Every single time.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah. Another angle to his career is like what he did with players specifically. Colton Wong had a great line that he said, I came up as an offensive, oriented player that nobody thought that I was going to be a good player. And it was all about Jose. And he goes, when I won those gold gloves, we celebrated together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did do some, he made Albert an infielder. Or was Albert originally an infielder?
Albert was a third baseman and went to first base, yes.
And
he played some left field in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Eckstein, he did some good things. I know Eckstein had a career before that.
All those guys coming up.
Well, here's the thing. If you're in his presence and you're willing to let him teach you, he's going to elevate your defense. He's just going to. He's got all the knowledge. He knows the right way to practice. You don't necessarily, and that's one of the things that I think he probably learned from George Kissel. You don't have to work long to work correctly.
You work smart.
Yeah.
You work smart and you work quickly.
So why doesn't a guy who had this fielding resume that played for Whitey, coached under Tony, and is regarded as an unbelievable teacher ever get a shot to be a manager?
That is something my wife and I were talking about yesterday during the game. I said, that guy right there should have been the St. Louis Cardinal manager.
I think
as soon as Tony was gone, he should have slipped right in there and been the manager.
I think this is just complete conjecture, because I can't figure it out either with that brain and that work ethic, is that he also doesn't suffer fools well and takes no BS from anybody, and that is a problem in today's atmosphere, not just in baseball, but anywhere.
Nah, not everywhere in baseball. I think when you look around, you think Dusty Baker does?
But those guys
you think Bruce Bochy does?
Those guys are fewer and far between if you look around the game.
I understand
So it's not 100%. You're right. But I feel like we're trending that way. Maybe it'll kick back.
I don't think so. Not under this organization. Not right now.
What do you mean?
Well, I think Jose had opinions that and had a style that he wasn't willing to compromise.
Yeah.
Why do you think he walked away? You think he got fired from coaching?
No.
He was hurt, and he had every right
because he didn't get the job?
Yes.
Okay. Then why didn't he just leave in general? Or a better way was, hey, I'm still going to get paid, but I'm not going to be around him. I'm going to be living in Florida most of the time working with the younger players.
Because he still has a passion for that.
Yeah.
He understands. Baseball's been his life.
That's who he is.
That's who he is, and that's what he loves to do. And who doesn't want to use the great talent that they have, if they can, their whole life? And he's, his work speaks for itself.
Yeah, and even though he doesn't want to bite the hand that feeds him, he said, he wanted to thank John Mozeliak. They had 2 embraces yesterday. I wonder if in the back of his mind he's thinking, wait a minute, Mike Matheny, he managed 13-year-olds. Mike Schilt, I have a better resume than Mike Schilt. And now Ali Marmol?
That's my point.
Yeah.
You've had 3 managers that don't have, experience. Maybe even baseball knowledge.
Tenth of his resume.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know the circumstances of why Mozeliak wouldn't want him to be the manager. And I guess we'll never know because I don't think Jose's ever going to come out and, cut the tree down or bite the hand that feeds him. And I know Mozeliak's never going to be honest about it. Why he didn't.
Yeah, Jose's too classy. He wouldn't do that.
No.
He's a pro.
And not to be mean.
We're not talking about a Yogi Berra situation here with Steinbrenner. That's a totally different situation.
And not to be mean, but do you think that this is a factor in them not hiring him? That Jose, his English is not unbelievable. He's not a great interview, and you're talking about a job that does 4 interviews a day, 180 times a year if you count spring training.
So what?
I'm not saying it's right.
I know, but you think the current manager's a compelling interview after the game? His platitudes are just ridiculous. Every game it's the same thing.
Yeah. But I think that sometimes you sell the sizzle and not the steak. And having 6'4" Mike Matheny, as the face of your franchise.
So what? You think?
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
You're doing a very good job.
Yeah, thank you.
And my point being is, does anybody come to the ballpark because Mike Matheny's good looking and 6'4"? No.
But there are suits, not just in sports, but in all of baseball, that want to win the news conference. Whether you and I think there's value in that or not, there's a segment.
Who wins the news conference, though? That's the question. The organization, the fans, the player, the manager. You think Whitey was concerned about winning news conference?
But he had a charisma
era,
about him that you did
win.
Yeah, everything about him was interesting.
Right, and Tony La Russa, it was a battle for you guys every night, wasn't it?
But still great.
I don't think so.
Still great. No, I never.
I'm just saying it was. I'm not saying he was bad. I'm just saying it was always interesting.
Be a struggle, yeah.
It was always interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Jose's, if he was in that position, he's not going to compromise the organization. He's not going to compromise the players.
Yeah, and I just I don't know Jose very well, but I don't think that's part of the job that he would embrace. Let's put it that way.
But I know one thing. Look, when you're in baseball,
he knows what the job takes.
Yes, I mean that's the one thing that as a manager you go, okay, that's part of your job. It's a big part of your job. Is before and after is to communicate what's going on with your team and what you're thinking and with the organization. Sure, I'm sure he could have handled that just fine. Now, would he have had 3 syllable words? No, but who cares?
I agree with you.
100%. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, before you go on,
yes, sir.
The other Hall of Famer, Max Lanier, Hal Lanier's dad. I don't know if I mentioned on this show or not, but I didn't hear anybody talking about it. A real interesting character in that he was great in the 40s. He jumped Major League Baseball and jumped to the Mexican League for more money and was suspended from the game by the commissioner. And then when the Mexican League failed, all those guys wanted to come back, including Lanier, and the Cardinals brought him back. I think he had one more pretty good year, and then it kind of petered out. But an interesting story that I think
that was not told at all.
I think that's the most interesting thing about the guy.
Or do you think almost as interesting is that he broke his right arm a couple of times and he became a lefty? Yeah, which is crazy.
Well,
I just thought that was fascinating that another league started up and he was among the.
Billy Wagner's the same thing. He was a natural right-handed thrower.
And he had a right-handed injury, or
something happened when he was a kid, and he ended up throwing left-handed.
Wow!
And you talking about freaky? That's really freaky. Teach yourself how to throw left-handed, and get 400 saves, whatever it was.
Well, that shows something for the respect for Jose that all those guys showed up on a 100-degree day at Busch Stadium. I'm sure they flew nice charter flight and hotel and everything. Still, there wasn't a lot of sizzle and stardom to that Hall of Fame, but they all showed up, I think, for Jose.
That's another thing. Why are they having it this time? Why not have it in September when those guys, all those old timers, don't have to sit out there with that jacket on and it's 110 degrees out? Yeah. Move it to September or April where the weather's.
They wisely had it early, but still.
That doesn't.
It was 92 instead of 98.
Yeah.
10 o'clock, it's still 100 degrees.
Do you know that this? I just was on our Zoom call at Channel 5. This could be the hottest 5-day stretch in the history of our city. Whew.
Yeah, it's been hot before. Though.
Yeah.
Well, you don't remember those days on the turf at Old Busch?
I do.
Okay, there you go.
Brutal.
Yep.
Absolutely brutal.
All right, so I'm particularly interested in Paul Goldschmidt from this moment on to the end of the season. He just finished the 7-game stretch at Busch Stadium, hitting .348 with 2 homers, 2 doubles, 7 RBIs, 5 runs scored. So where are you with Goldschmidt? I know you expressed some reservations about whether we're starting to see decline. What are you seeing?
I still do.
The home run yesterday was not a fastball, but
it was a
still
changeup.
counts.
Yeah. Well, every home run counts. I'm not discounting that. I'm just saying the damage on which he was doing last year on Major League fastballs at 94, 4-seam fastballs, and above. I mean, he's 80, 90 points below our average. His slugging is down almost 200%. And, again, I'm not going to get off my premise. Like I said the last few weeks, is the first thing that goes is the inability to hit a major league fastball.
Especially in?
Doesn't matter if it's
Doesn't
in.
matter?
No. I mean, he's swinging through and fouling out fastballs this year, in which he didn't at a rate last year.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Now, to me, I know that's the first thing that goes. Mm-hmm. Personally, for me, and talking to, I mean, you talk to any hitter when he starts to decline, it's, man, I can't get to that fastball like I used to. And it's not unusual to see guys later on in their career become better breaking ball hitters. Why?
Have to.
Why?
Have to.
Because they're looking for it.
Yeah. That's what they want.
That's what they want. You know, they need that 10-mile-an-hour slower ball to be able to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
But with that said, if you get 25 and 80 with an 850 OPS and great defensive skills and incredible mentored all these players, you know,
all that value is absolutely true.
Yeah. So I'd keep him until it gets really bad.
You're going to keep him for at least one more year.
Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
Well, and the thing for those who advocated a trade at the deadline in July, and after the deadline, I started to think more about it, and maybe that was the time. Still have an opportunity, depending on what he does with his no trade, if you're not good again next year, to maybe make that move for a rental, to make him a rental.
Well,
but that's looking at all the negative
next year at the deadline.
Yeah,
okay.
that's all. That's taking the negative look. The positive
that makes
look.
more sense.
The positive look. He plays great and plays out his deal, and you go from there, and he
I
contributes
think
to a winning
what
team.
you're going to get.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I think you know what you're going to get the rest of this year and next year. The issue is, if you were to do it, what are you getting back? That's the issue. And what you're getting back, is it going to produce more wins next year and the following year? That's hard to say.
Yeah, but next year you're going to take your shot because Walker, Wynn, Gorman, Arenado, Goldschmidt. If you add the 2 or 3 pitchers, you're right back as one of the best teams in the division.
But yeah, if
I think they will.
you think they will, what?
I think
they're
they'll try.
going to acquire a really good free agent pitcher. I think they'll make a trade, and then maybe they'll dabble in Japan. And you got your 3 starters, and then what you have left with Matz, Michaelis. Oh, let's get to Hudson. What are you seeing there with his slider? And now it's 5-0, and it's pretty solid. Not electrifying, but 7 strikeouts.
He could be a 5th starter, right?
Well, I know his swing and miss stuff is still there, and he only throws 91 because his changeup and slider are good enough to compete. The biggest difference with Hudson is he's throwing the ball in the strike zone. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
When he pounds the strike zone, he's got enough variation on his pitches, the full big league pitchers.
Yeah, when he gets behind an account, I mean, that's not stating anything earth-shattering, but he's in trouble. He just gets ahead of every hitter now in the last 5 starts.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Matz. I told you back in May, if this guy throws his fastball in the strike zone, doesn't necessarily have to be on the corners. It can be right down the middle. As a hitter, when you know your pitcher who can throw 94 to 96, what Matz can do, and elevate his fastball, it really causes problems because now his changeup is effective.
And it's down. His fastball's up here.
Changeup's
down there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's effective, but if you know he's not willing to throw his fastball in the strike zone, it makes it so much easier to hit.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see much? Al's last year was 82, so you never faced Al Hrabosky. Did you ever see him? The reason I'm bringing it up is because
JoJo.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Al. The body, the histrionics, the hair.
Who says?
Romero with
Romero.
Joe Romero.
Yeah.
He's just kind of fun to watch. He's got a little pizzazz to him.
He does.
Reminds me of Al.
Yeah, a little bit. Without the antics, yeah.
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 Without the,
Al would, man, he would just go after hitters. And JoJo's kind of like that,
Yeah.
but Al was he was so amped up. He
didn't care.
He was attacking.
Yes.
Yeah. It was really fun.
Yeah.
So I kind of suggested to John Mozeliak that at the beginning of the season you thought Gallegos, Helsley, Hicks, and now they're all gone as closers. I go, don't you have to completely redo the bullpen?
Well, Gallegos is not gone.
Well, yeah, but he's just
You're not
very
gonna close
effective.
with it.
Yeah,
No.
he's a 7th inning pitcher.
Yeah.
So they really have to address that. I mean, can you really go into a season saying that Ryan
No.
Helsley's going to be your closer?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Once a week, maybe.
Yeah.
No, not even then. You can't.
That was a thinly veiled shot at him not being available every night.
Well, he hasn't been available most of
For a
his career.
couple months, yeah.
I mean, he's always hurt,
Yeah.
and you can't have a power type of pitcher who, if he maximizes himself all the time and then ends up having the rest,
I'm not available, yeah.
that's not going to work. It just kills your bullpen, and it puts your manager in a situation, puts him in puts him in a vice. What am I going to do?
Well, you know what Ollie had to do, and under the circumstances I wasn't against it, was he almost had to have a 2-platoon bullpen. The bullpen he uses when Helsley's available, and hopefully you're in the game, and then who's ever left to pitch the next night.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can't do that.
you can't do that.
You can't do that.
I wonder if, it's the odds of Thompson becoming that fifth starter are not great. There's so many candidates. It could happen. But I wonder if you could just make Thompson, with his good stuff, a weapon out of that bullpen full time.
Well, you got.
As far as what?
Haven't we learned though, guys, that
Seventh, eighth inning guy.
haven't you learned though you for sure need 8 starters who can compete for you
Yeah.
on a given night, 8 or 9. So you can always take a guy and put him in the bullpen, but you got to go into spring training with him on a starter regimen, don't you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, to have 2 left-handed pitchers in your rotation that's
Yeah.
advantageous for you.